Great. So we're going to let the participants in. And I'll monitor the meeting. I just want to say thank you so much for being part of this webinar and for sharing your wisdom with us. So if you could, without further ado, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, starting just with your college backgrounds, moving on here?
Starting from college, well, I'll go back a little bit. I mean, just
Yeah, correct. Let's go back further. Go ahead. That's right.
so just born in Maryland, and I guess from my business journey, ever since I was a kid, always coming up with ideas, whether it be board games or trying to sell stuff, or one time came up with like a different apple sauce, and always interested in business and trying to kind of sell things or start a business. And I was thinking back recently and like, well, why is that? And it's probably because my parents kind of pushed it and always encouraged it. They were never like, oh, that idea is dumb and that's silly. It's always like, oh, that sounds good. And I remember my dad taking me down to the patent office, which is in kind of Northern Virginia, and always kind of encouraging this kind of business mentality. He was a business guy also. And I guess there's some point of that or portion of that where I wanted to kind of emulate him in a way. But I always loved it. And that's always what I wanted to do. It's not like I wanted to be, a policeman or something. I've always wanted to kind of be in business or own my own business. And, I think that's due to probably, my parents' encouragement as well, kind of always pushing me along. And I've got a pretty cool story that I'll share maybe if it comes up
Mhm.
on idea of kind of what my dad did. I don't know if there's any parents on this call. Maybe it's just
So
some.
there are a lot of parents who are going to listen to this as well. So I'm curious to hear this. So would you say you were like 5, 8, 10, 12? I mean, when do you really feel that you first realized this about yourself, that your nature is entrepreneurial?
It was always early on. I don't know, just as far back as I can remember, trying to come up with ideas. Um, and I'll give you one example that I think was interesting, just from a let people are coming into the room. Friends, I'm actually able to admit them, by the way. They're coming in on my screen. I'm hitting admit on there, but all good. So yeah, one kind of fun story is I think I was around, I don't know, maybe 15 or 16 or something, probably 15. And I had this idea for like a job board. It was right around the time of monster.com. Probably people remember this, but like Monster was like before it was like the first job board, online job board. And anyways, I said, I'm gonna do a job board just for the industry of car dealers as an example, or that's what it was for car dealers. And my dad's like, okay, well, here's the yellow pages. Go call, create a media kit and call all the car dealers. And so I called, all the car dealers. I was just a 15-year-old kid talking to them, hey, I have this idea, do you mind meeting with me? And I remember one car dealer said to come in. It was Coons, like
Hmm.
Ford or something on Reisterstown Road in Maryland. And I was like, Dad, you're not gonna believe this. Like, this guy wants to take a meeting with me. He's like, okay, well, get all your stuff prepared and get your media kit. And anyway, we went in and I was pitching him on the idea. He was like the sales director, and he was like, oh, that's a really interesting idea, and work on such and such. It's not like he was ready to buy. It's not like I even had anything, but he was definitely like encouraging. And I walked out of the meeting saying, what, I really could do this. It seems like, I had an idea, I created a media kit, went out and pitched it and called. And it wasn't until several years later that I found out my dad actually called Coons ahead of time. And he said, he said, like, my son's going to be calling you, take a meeting with him. Because it would just mean so much and it would just give him that encouragement. But he never like told me this. He never like said, I'm going to set up a meeting for you. So, it's that kind of push. And sometimes, you need that little bit of encouragement to feel like, your kid can do this because I think one of the biggest skills ever is being able to cold call or cold talk or cold pitch anybody on whatever your idea is, whether that's in an interview or a pitch for a business idea, being able to get on the phone and say, hey, I'm working on this cool new, whatever it is, software for tutoring companies. Um,
Hmm.
I think it would be amazing. Do you have 5 minutes and I can just show you because I think it's really going to help you increase revenues and make you more efficient, whatever the thing is. Just being able to have that confidence, and get over the fear factor of just, Francis saying, no, this is stupid, I don't have any time, and
Mhm.
just hanging up on you, and being able to take 9 hangups to get that one person to say yes is huge. And it's not for everybody. It is, from my experience, not for everybody. Not everybody can kind of take that, but I think it's something you can learn, and totally a valuable skill.
So you just always, my recollection of you from college, you've been very entrepreneurial. You had charity happenings. You were just really moving. You were also one of the first people to really jump into social media, advertising, promotions, events. Can you kind of talk about that, about how your like high school to specifically college years, you really just everything I observe about you and I follow you and I'm a fan, everything I observe, like you really kind of jump on these opportunities. I mean, even that you're on Shark Tank, you went through the entire process to become a contestant on Shark Tank. Can you talk about really your entrepreneurial spirit throughout college, things you did throughout college that really shaped you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I picked NYU is it's, in the business heart of the world. And I always kind of didn't like school. I always wanted to kind of be that kid that was like, I'm ready, I want to go out and work, and I want to go out and do something,
Yeah.
versus reading, the Iliad or something and writing a report on it. So that's one of the reasons kind of why I picked NYU. I knew it'd be a great place to kind of get internships and kind of be in the business world. Yeah, just it kind of continued into college. I had a business idea in college called the Cure Card, where it was right at the time when you remember you used to have a keychain full of like Walgreens had a little scanning thing, and like all the
Yeah.
every place had like the loyalty card. So anyway, the idea was, okay,
Yes.
one loyalty card, put multiple retailers and non-competing businesses on there. So we'd put an Office Depot, but not a Staples. We'd put a Walgreens, but not a CVS. And then we'd be able to share all the customer data between everybody. But then we put a cause-related tie onto it to Evelyn Lauder's Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And that was like kind of the concept. Like every time you use your code and scan, one of these retailers would give like 25 cents to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Anyway, that ended up kind of being a cool little business, and it ended up raising over, I think, like $1.5 million for breast cancer research. So that was kind of neat. But I did that in college, just coming up with stuff. And again, it was just cold calling around, just an idea. And Evelyn Lauder's foundation said, "Hey, this is a great idea. When you come in and pitch us?" And I was like, "All right, I better."
And to be clear, you were taking college classes, and this was something outside of your actual coursework. You said, I want to make a difference. Like, what can you just kind of walk the participants and the viewers through the motions? Because you really had these out of the box ideas that were successful while you were a full-time student at NYU.
Yeah, I did it while I was NYU. It just on the side. It was kind of just like a hobby. Like anybody else would go play rec basketball. I was like cold calling and trying to come up with business ideas. Just a hobby and something I did for fun. And that's kind of how this whole like shirt business started also, was I had this other software company that I was running. It was running for 5, 6 years. I still own it. And every year I'd come up with something new just because it's like a hobby. I just kind of find it fun and kind of staying on top of uh, kind of the trends, and whether it's advertising on social media or whatever. And I was like, I've always been itching to do this shirt idea. I'll do it. It was COVID. I was just sitting around doing nothing and made these shirts, which are basically polo shirts that you can kind of see what I'm wearing right now, although it kind of looks like a dress shirt,
Yeah.
which is the idea. And so the original idea for the dress collar polo was the look where you're wearing a sweater over a dress shirt. It's very uncomfortable, but it's
Mhm.
very common. A lot of guys wear it, and I was wearing it all the time in New York. And I just found it really, like, the sleeves get bunched up, like you're pulling, and it's just, I get hot. And so basically we created a polo shirt, but we put like a really reinforced collar on the top so that it gives you the look of a dress shirt. So that was really just the idea. I didn't think any better or worse than any of my other 50 ideas that either worked or didn't work. And I think I made a run of about 300 white ones, just white one collar style. Now we've got 4. And my 7-year-old daughter's like, Dad, you got to do a TikTok video. So I'm like, all right. So she's like filming me in my closet, and I was like, guys, don't you wearing dress shirts? I was, they suck. You got to check out one of these dress color polos, and it just went kind of hit on TikTok, and the company was born just as a side hustle. And next thing you know, I applied for Shark Tank, just went to abc.com and wrote in there, and then they wrote back saying, hey, we like you. And you go through, like, people probably interested in like how this whole thing works. It's like rounds and rounds of interviews. It's like 8 rounds of interviews to kind of make it pass. And even when you get to Los Angeles, if you make it, there's even a good chance you don't even get to air on the show. Like, you could shoot the show and then not air, which is like the biggest kick in the pants ever. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
turned out great, and we got Mark Cuban and Peter Jones as investors. So it was a wild ride, but kind of circling back, it all just came back to this thing I did on the side, which I think is a great way to start a business, especially in college. It's like, what do you have? There's nothing to lose. It's like, it's you only learn when you lose also, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna win. It's a win-win. So if anyone's entrepreneurial out there, I'm like, yeah, start something in college. You're living in a dorm room. You have no expenses. Nobody cares. You don't have to tell anybody if you don't want. If you feel like, oh, I started this thing and it didn't work out, like, who cares? Um, it's all
Did you
looking.
feel any, what about college classes? Like, what would you recommend? Looking back on your education, what classes do you feel you wish you had taken more seriously? You wish you had taken that you did take, you found helpful, if you could just direct us.
Yeah, I think the business classes, I think accounting, just general basic accounting is solid. It'll hold you for the rest of your life. Learning what a cash flow statement is and a P&L is, or profit and loss statement, and a balance sheet, and just understanding those 3 core pieces is huge, and important to be able to like create one and dissect one. And I would say, I think it's probably the basic accounting 1 and 2 probably goes over those things. And I did like my marketing course. I thought that was excellent at NYU. I found that to be helpful in just getting you to think about marketing and advertising. I think that is probably a good course to take if you're an entrepreneur. Um, like I said, I didn't love, English literature. I just didn't find it useful to me. But that doesn't mean it's not useful, and it's great to learn how to write. And but I would say, yeah, core main, business classes, which probably end up being like your freshman and sophomore year, is probably the crux of the education. I mean, the education you're gonna get is an education of, like, I say, like, I went to graduate school in the School of Hard Knocks. The real world is going to teach you so much more. So if you can work for a company at a college where it may not be the best pay, right? I mean, who cares getting an extra like $8,000 a year or whatever, New York City.
Mhm.
If you can struggle somehow and take less, but get more of an education and make more connections and networking in your first job or in your internships, I think that can be incredibly valuable. And if you have time, do an internship while you're in college as well, I would say would be pretty good advice.
So I want to hold on to that point because you would recommend versus making an extra 8 or $10,000 that students choose a workplace where they can network, where they can make connections. Is that what you're advising, that they make that as a decision? Because so many students are going to go after the dollar once they
Yeah,
graduate.
totally. I mean, like, $10,000, maybe that is a big enough difference at them. But let's just say it's an extra 2,000 or something. But you're going to work for this other, lady who's incredible, and she's so connected, and you're going to learn so much more than that in this other job, where you're just sitting at a desk all day. I think would be much more valuable. And so I wouldn't just, at least your first 2 jobs, it'd be about, how can I really learn and improve my skills, whatever that may be. Maybe it's like taking some crappy sales job, but it's like a great sales training, they do have a great sales training uh, program, and you think, the person running it is like killer, and that would be totally worth it because you'll take those skills to the next job.
So here you are now. You went on to Shark Tank and you said, you know what, I'm going to try, I'm going to go, I'm going to make it. If you could speak a bit about opportunity and about luck, because you are someone who, from what I'm observing often, you really make your luck. You create this incredible good luck, but you see the opportunity. And if you could share that wisdom with the students about your pathways.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a little bit of both, or maybe it's a lot of both. But an interesting story. I had this business called, well, you mentioned it was Charity Happenings. It was on a
Yeah.
calendar of nonprofit events. This was like some of their little side business, and um, basically it helped nonprofits and nonprofit event planners post their events on a master calendar so that two breast cancer foundations didn't post their gala on the same day. They could kind of see what else was doing. And then other people that are interested in maybe breast cancer could kind of look on the calendar and say, oh, look at that. There's a cool event, or there's a new 5K for Alzheimer's. I'd love to do that. So it was kind of good for both sides of the coin. I had this also idea. We created Charity Happenings ticketing, which is basically like Eventbrite just for charity events, which allows organizations to create a page, which I'm sure you guys have all been on Eventbrite or some sort of page
Mhm.
where people can create an event and then you can buy tickets or sell tickets on there and people would pay. So we heard that Eventbrite, which is the big player in the field, was going to create iPad check-in. This was at the time when the iPads first came out. So
Mhm.
at the old days, we used to go to events and they used to have people used to have like tables. Like if your last name starts from A to K and K to M and M to Z, you used to go in your and they had an Excel file of papers they have stapled and they cross your name off with a highlighter. We're like really dating ourselves. Everyone on here is like, what? Like,
Mhm.
but that's the way they did it. And Eventbrite said, we're going to make it iPad check-in. So like you check in at an airport, you show your QR code and it just beeps and it checks the person in. But it was only good for Eventbrite events. So I saw it. I'm like, I want to create this, but I want to create it for any type of an event, regardless whether you're on Eventbrite site, mine, anybody with an Excel file could upload it and start checking people in, which is kind of the cool part. And I was kind of dragging my feet on this idea. I had a company in India that was taking like 10 months to build this thing, and I wasn't doing much with it. And then I got a call from somebody that used to post and I became friendly with just tangentially, not even more of like an acquaintance. Like I couldn't even tell you the guy's name anymore. Um, and he called me and he said, Justin, I've got this client who wants iPad check-in at their event. Do you know anybody doing this? And I said, well, I'm kind of playing with it. I said, who's your client? He said, it's Google's holiday party. I said, we'll have ours done in 4 weeks. So he's like, okay, great. Like, we'll do it. And so like I called my India guy the next day. I'm like, you got to get this done right away. And Google's holiday party was the first event we ever even tried it on. I only owned one iPad. Google wanted 10 iPads. They rented out the entire New York City Public Library, which is this giant building in New York City with thousands of people. I said, no problem. We can do the whole thing. I remember at the event, I told like the volunteers holding all the iPads, I said, look, people are going to be bringing in their like little boarding passes with the QR codes, and you're going to like hold your iPad over it and scan it. I said, I don't care if the thing scans or not. It scans. You hold it over there and you say, thank you for coming, right? Like just whether it's working or not working, just let them in. But that became like the first event we ever did on this. It became Check and Easy. So then that Check and Easy business ended up building and selling. But from that first event, the next day, the Guggenheim Museum called, and all these other companies are like, hey, I was at Google's holiday party and I love this iPad checking. Can we do it at our event? So you see kind of have that serendipitous moment where you just never know. So sure, there was luck involved, but there's also kind of just doing right by people in all your businesses, and you never know how things are going to come full circle and help you out in the future.
Thank you so much for sharing that because that's what I'm observing is opportunity meets luck and luck meets opportunity. And you really have this amazing blend where you said, you know what, I'm going to get it done. I will get it done. And you didn't back away, which quite frankly, a lot of others would. And I'm sure you realize that others would have said, no, this is too much. This is beyond the scope. But you kept going. How do you do that? How do you say I can get it done when you know that you can't? And you said I'd have a week to get it figured out. What gives you that drive and that motivation?
Yeah. Well, we had 4 weeks. We didn't have much time to get it done, but we got it done. I think it's something that people also get stuck on when they're starting businesses where they feel like it has to be perfect or I'm not going to launch it. And I don't know if there's some other weird fear factors in there that people say, I can't launch the business until it's just perfect, until the website's perfect. They're putting up all these kind of roadblocks before they launch their brand or whatever, launch their website. Whereas for me, it's like, just get to the nittiest, grittiest, minimal viable product, which you'll hear people talk about, and see if it can sell, right? Just see if it sells. So it's like not getting caught up on perfection. You'll figure it out later. Like my shirt, the first one, that wasn't as nice as this one. We just reiterated it. The whole idea was, let me see if I can put it out there and see if it sells. Like the first pictures on the website were just me modeling. My kids like took pictures of me on their phones. Like that was the first picture. It wasn't like perfect, but I could see how people be like, I don't want to launch this until it's exactly right. And so for me, it's just like, get it done. Let's fail fast. If we're going to fail, let's fail fast and figure it out. But get to that minimal viable product pretty quickly.
So, as you're now an adult and you have your own children, what is the advice that you would give to really kids your children's age? What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who aspire? They don't even know that they're future entrepreneurs, but they have realized that they have that seed within them. So, what advice can you give to the youngest of the young in terms of generation?
Well, like my kids are little, they're only 7 and 10. But something that I feel like my dad did, maybe not intentionally, but I try and do to my kids is make sure they're okay, like speaking to people and doing things on their own independently. So my kids will be like, Dad, my menu fell on the floor. I'm like, okay, well, go to the host and say, hi, my menu fell on the floor. Could I have another
Mhm.
one? Where I could see most parents would be like, okay, hold on, you sit here, I'll go to the host stand and ask, and get one for you. So it's like this confidence of being able to speak and ask and kind of pitch in a way something of what you want, and not being afraid of what the other person is going to say and just feeling comfortable speaking to. I don't want to say like speaking to strangers. I don't want my kids speaking to strangers, but you know what I mean? When they need something or they need to get an idea across, is feeling comfortable doing that. Um, so I think that that's a huge step. Kind of goes back to that like cold calling concept.
Would
But
you recommend they take a public speaking class? Would you recommend that they practice public speaking,
sure,
like in a
actually
classroom
thinking
setting,
about
or
it,
do you
I
think
actually
casual?
I took a communications course in college. I think that was a good course, and I have to like
Mhm.
think back to my college courses, but I do think that was a good class, and it forces you to do public speaking, which I think is important. So yeah, absolutely. Public speaking, excellent. Whether you end up being public speaker or not, it will always help you. But it seems like in business, it just always comes up, right? Like if you're an entrepreneur, you end up doing public speaking. Um, and it helps you train, like even in Shark Tank, like when I got there, or I guess before, I'm like, so what if you screw up like on the pitch? Like do they redo it, right? You
Mhm.
just like redo the take. They're like, no, there's no takes. Like this one take, you screw it up, you're done.
Oh
So
my God.
you really have to know your stuff and feel confident going out there. So I would say definitely that came in handy. Did we freeze you? Oh, I lost you for a minute there.
Sorry about that. And then with regards to confidence and performance, when you were actually on TV, what did you do self-talk? What did you do to ease your nerves with your just your communication skills? You were on TV, platform, audience, viewers. What advice would you give to people who are introverts? What's the best advice you can give to those who are looking to communicate but are afraid?
I mean, I think visualization is a big one, watching yourself do it, rehearsing it a million times. I used to say my pitch all the time in the shower, record it back to yourself, make sure you kind of have it down pat, are all pretty important things that you can do. But yeah, I would say public speaking course, absolutely. If you're an introvert, take it twice.
Definitely. And if any of the parents have questions, you can type into the chat. And then with the shirts, you said you started with one shirt, right? And then you built from there. I want to really bring that home, and I want the parents and the students listening. Justin started with one, right? That's all you started with. It was one concept, one idea, right? And then you launched from there. So now you're building and developing, right? But it was really just one that ignited the spark.
Yeah, 2.5 years ago, just one shirt just to see what would happen. And then from there, we started getting traction like on my TikTok videos. And then I was like, oh, maybe we have something here. Let's create a blue one, and we'll create a pale pink one and a black one, a navy. And now we have 130 styles. It's a full menswear brand. We have pants and belts and long sleeve dress shirts and sweaters and quarter zip. So it's like a full menswear brand. And we're in our third warehouse. We're in about 18,000 square feet now. So it's kind of gone crazy. It's a wild ride and super fun, kind of keeps me excited about launching new things. So I kind of get that dopamine hit of being able to create something new a lot,
Yeah.
which is important. So it kind of doesn't get stale. So yeah, it's been fun. So check it out, collarsandco.com. Get these
Yes.
polos. They're kind of polos with really firm collars.
And
But
we can send the parents a discount code, right? Because there
yeah,
has to
sure.
be a
I'll
Kweller
give you
Pro
one. I don't know if
discount.
I created one, but
Well,
I'll get you
we
one.
we can email everyone because we actually have 10,000 families on the email list, and we get quite a lot of viewers. So we do have a wide viewership range. I'm really thankful that you did this. If the parents have any questions, they're welcome to ask, or the students. I want to also emphasize this happens. Oh, this is so nice. Justin, do you want to read that? Thank you for the great info. Good.
Listening to this with my
So
middle
cute.
schooler and high schooler and love the points you made. Our question is, how do you balance schoolwork, pressure for having a good GPA with your side hustles? How do you organize your time? What would you recommend? Great question. I found it, I think in college you actually do have a lot of time. It seems like, well, one, making sure that you don't take too many classes at once. That could be difficult. Or also taking too many really difficult classes at the same time. Maybe you take two really hard courses and then two easy ones. If you took four hard ones in college, whether you have a side hustle or not, that'd probably be not too fun. But I think people do have a lot of time in college to do stuff. And even if you just did an hour a day on your side hustle, I think you'd be surprised at how far you'd go. I heard this once where it's like, just make 1% progress every day. Doesn't have to be a lot, but just 1%. And then that's going to kind of compound. There's this idea of compounding, and you'd be surprised how far you can get. Good question.
And there's another question in the chat.
Stress of having a business. Great question too. The question is, do I get to switch off? How does he manage the stress of having a business? So one of the downsides to having a business is I don't have any time off. And that goes for whether it's vacations or any time. So yeah, I'll take a vacation, but I'm working. Like my phone is still on. It's not like I'm a doctor and it's something that my wife doesn't love, right? Where she has, we've got like a sister-in-law and they're a doctor, and they just like take off. Someone else covers all their patients. There's not much, they can have like not think about anything. Whereas my stuff, I'm always on. There's always something to respond to, or an issue that could come up. So there's definitely a stress of having your own business for sure. And hopefully you can delegate enough tasks around so you can kind of alleviate that stress, but it's always there. And probably a lot of entrepreneurs, are, constantly worried, like, oh my God. And I have those worries too, like, oh my God, maybe people don't want to buy polo shirts anymore. Like, oh, we had a bad day of
Mhm.
sales. And, it's, it can be stressful. And then, it's like we had our best day ever. And then in the same week, you could have like a bad day and you're just like freaked out about it. But no, it's not easy. It is hard to turn off. I wish I worked like 40-hour weeks. It would just be, I'm on it all the time. Like I'm thinking about it all the time, but I'm in like severe, crazy growth mode. You know, we
Yeah.
are, we're doing tens of thousands of orders a month, and, we're all trying to do a ton of jobs and push the business forward pretty quickly. So I'm sure I could get it to slow down, but we're just not at that point. We're still kind of in startup growth mode, just being 2 years out.
We're so extremely lucky that you're sharing your life, your time, your summer afternoon, late evening with us. We're just really fortunate. Thank you for being so honest about the on button staying on. I'll share with the listeners quickly that when I was pregnant with my third child. I had the cell phone in my hand during the baby shower, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, why is it in your hand? I'm like, because I don't know another way, and this keeps me calm. I had the phone in my hand during the bris. If you actually want to hear my first, I actually had an epidural, and I checked the security cameras at Kweller Prep because that it gave me peace, it gave me calm, and I liked knowing that everything is running. So it's also the off button. I guess I had an off button. I had the pleasure of knowing things are running. And it's really an honor to know you. I'm so happy to share that we met at NYU, and I am so lucky that I get to follow your journey because you're growing and you're inspiring me, you're inspiring the students. You have another question in the chat. Do you see that?
Wait, hold
What
on.
do
Let
we
me check
have?
here. But likewise, Prince, I mean, what you've done is fantastic, and
Yeah.
part of what you've built here, and it seems like you're helping so many
Do
kids.
you, so the question is, do you attribute your success to certain personality traits that are innate? Do you think any of your success is innate personality trait
Um,
related here?
Maybe something I touched on that I don't know if it's trait. I think it can be learned is I'm okay with failing. I'm okay with trying something and it not working out, and dealing with the, I guess, inner self-confidence that I'm okay with telling, like, whatever it is, your parents, your siblings, your best friends, hey, I tried something and it didn't work. Like, it just didn't work. Like, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'll come up with another one. Like, you're seeing like Collars and Co. probably is, the larger hits of what I've done so far, but they're not seeing the
Yeah.
40 or 50 ideas I tried that didn't work. So
Exactly. And yes, thank you for sharing that. Everyone, as we're well, you have another question, and but this is the last question because Justin is a busy, busy, busy person.
no, it's
All
okay.
right. So
If you
let's
get more questions, I'll
last
answer
one.
them. But yeah, so I think fear of failure, just let that go. It's no big deal. And I say
Think do
you
you,
only
what
learn when you lose. Let's see. Do you visualize yourself, future self?
your future self?
That's a great question. I actually do. In college, actually, I was just out of college. Um, I did listen to like Tony Robbins, and who people don't know, he's like a motivational speaker. He's like this giant person. And I was always intrigued with self-improvement also. And one of the things that I remember doing was creating a vision board, which is basically a board of, let's say, what you want your life to look like, let's say in like 10 years. and you can put all the different little pieces on there. And the crazy things, a lot of those things came true. I did think I put up like a Ferrari on there, and that has not come true yet, but but I'm working on that. But no, so yes, that is a form of visualizing your future self. I think that's very important. I still do that, and I think it works.
I love it. I love the vision board idea. I also did that with the Hamptons and with the summer. And I'm actually speaking to you right now from our summer home that I did. I had a vision board of these other homes, and I said, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to do great with my life. And I'm just so thankful. So, getting back to what I was saying before, I want to say thank you because Kweller Prep is a very special community of families, and many of these listeners are immigrants, children of immigrants, first generation, first ones to go to great colleges, first to go to college on a scholarship. So we have a lot of trailblazers and leaders in this very special community. And entrepreneurship is, to be quite honest, frowned upon because you're often told you need a safe job and you need a safe salary and you need a safe employment. And I got the speech from the floor to the ceiling about how my entrepreneurial roller coaster was not what my parents pictured for me, but I love it. I really do. Kweller Prep is in my heart. I'm sure you know as you follow me and I follow you. Kweller Prep has really built and developed, but it's amazing to connect with another entrepreneur because you really have to advocate for yourself. So we're so lucky that you're giving us this time and this nugget of wisdom. Thank
Yeah.
you for all that you do. I really want to say thank you for sharing that piece about how it all started with one shirt. It started with one idea. It started with one opportunity that was given to you. So, Kweller Prep, we publish about 50 textbooks right now, and we distribute to like, oh my God, I can't even tell you tens of thousands of books. But it all started with one book, and I didn't even have a cover. We just typed a cover on the book. And I want to share, it really started with one. So here we are today with a whole book publishing company, but where did that happen? It happens with a book. And to be very honest with you, we didn't have a cover. So we just printed it on a white cover,
As we
black
were saying, that
text.
minimal viable
And
product. You didn't wait till it was perfect to get it done, just to see what
no,
happened.
but I did release it. I also want to share, lastly, with the YouTube videos, the Kweller Prep channel. We have published so many videos and we have hundreds of thousands of views. Um, but it all started with one amateur video. Like everything just started so small and it wasn't even good. And Kweller Prep actually started like in a basement of an apartment. Like it just wasn't it was never this like grand entrance that happened. That never happened. So remember, like you start everything small. Justin, you are such an inspiration. You're an inspiration to your children, to your family, to the workforce, to Gen X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You are just really an impressive person. If you want to give any closing remarks, please do. And then I'm going to have the parents just say thank you. I'm going to take the parents off mute after this to say thank you.
No, no, all good.
So
My
go ahead
pleasure.
if you want to
And
just close up.
if anybody has any questions, let me know. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, just good luck to everybody. I guess this you're probably dealing with mostly high school students, right? Or maybe some college students. I'm not sure, but
Yes,
good
yes,
luck to
the
everybody.
go-getters.
And
We have high school and middle school.
great,
So
just keep
everyone,
hustling
if you
out
could just type
there.
a thank you.
No, no, all
I'm
good.
gonna
My
have everyone
pleasure. Thank
unmute.
you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you so much.
I'm gonna count to
Thank
three
you.
and we're gonna say thank you. Ready? One, two, three. Wait, we're gonna do it
Thank
together.
you.
Ready? Everybody off mute. We are gonna say thank you to Justin. Thank you,
Thank you.
Justin. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Justin.
My pleasure. Have
Thank
a great
you.
night.
So cool. Okay. You are Kweller Prep's celebrity sighting. It's super cool.
Not
Okay.
quite.
I can't wait to share this. All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
See
you.
you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Bye,
one.
everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.